Jon Summers is the motoring historian. He was a company car thrashing technology sales rep that turned into a fairly inept sports bike rider. Hailing from California, he collects cars and bikes built with plenty of cheap and fast, and not much reliable. On his show, he gets together with various co-hosts to talk about new and old cars, driving, motorbikes, motor racing, and motoring travel.
Good day, good morning, good afternoon. It is Jon Summers, the motoring historian. I'm creatively torn, listener. Creatively torn asunder. Do I do this boring episode about the Consumer Reports Zoom session that I sat in? Do you give a crap whether Lexus is above Honda in the overall customer satisfaction stakes? Probably not if you've been listening to my pod up to now. But I want to be useful. I want to be of value to a consumer. I mean, my wife in this last week just has had to buy a new car for a new job. Longer commute, different kind of requirements. Guess the BMW's not going to be able to wear 15,000 miles a year. Probably it isn't, is it? Not given it's now got 160. So Consumer Reports has its place. And then I was like, you should try and make it interesting. So I don't know if this is going to be interesting or not. I still think it's boring, and I always worry that if you, as the storyteller, think the story's boring, it probably is boring. The presenter was this chap, Alex Knizek, Knizek. He's a good presenter, actually, younger fellow than me, much more serious fellow than me. They buy 36 cars each year. There have been 90 years of Consumer Reports now. They're a non-profit, and they have a campus that's 330 acres or 6 miles of roads in Colchester, Connecticut. They buy tires, they buy child seats and, all of that kind of accessory jazz as well, and test all that stuff too. 35 employees, allegedly car enthusiasts. Who knows, maybe they are. Maybe they're the same as that McKinsey fellow, the software-defined car one. I'll add a link, who said he was a car enthusiast and then excitedly talked about de-inventing cars. I'm suspicious now of these corporate types who tell me they're car enthusiasts. They say they drive 500,000 miles in a year. They say they don't just buy the new RAV4 to test it. They will own comparison vehicles as well. So it's a comparative measure rather than a static measure. I think that was the point that he was trying to make. He said they're known for their Elk Test swerve. So this, guys, for those of you who don't remember the Explorers rolling over and Ford falling out, or the Elk Test, which I think was some Swedish test. Either way, this imagines an elk or some other creature has stepped down in front of you, and you step on the brakes and steer at the same time. That's the important part of this. You are steering and stepping on the brakes. I know, right? You're rolling your eyes and being like numpty, right? But this has led to SUVs particularly to roll over. That's why for some, it's been years now, the ESP's mandated on American vehicles. You would have thought, right, when they were having these rollover things, that would have been the sign to say, you know what, these up high vehicles, let's just get down low again and make them more efficient. But no, that's not the world that we live in. ESP is mandated, so now they have electric trickery to stop them tripping over themselves if you steer and brake at the same time as trying to swerve around the imaginary elk. Anyway, apparently this is what Consumer Reports were known for. The subjective stuff they do by jury. They measure stuff where it's possible to measure it. There's a Consumer Reports online, there's still a paper magazine, and they do a YouTube and a podcast. Makes you think about what a competitive environment they're in now, really, doesn't it? Because there's so many other people doing that, and they're now in competition. They used to just be in competition with other magazines on the rack, but now they're in competition with all of these other kind of multimedia outlets. You know, their brand is what's going to carry them. So they do these top 10 picks. So they road test, they look for reliability, they look at owner satisfaction, and they do that through a Consumer Reports member survey. And the stat ratty fella, he had some stats, and I don't think I wrote this down. Maybe I did later on, but I was pretty impressed by the size of the sample that they had. 35 employees makes it seem quite small, but actually the brand, the 330 acres, the 90 years, that more accurately reflects, I think, where they're coming from. And then the other thing that they look at is safety. So those are their 4 criteria: the road test, reliability, owner satisfaction, and safety. I got a screen cap of the top 10, but since you might be listening to this and driving and not able to go and look at the link, I'm going to go look at the photo myself and tell you who's number 1. He pointed out that the whole of the top 10 were either hybrids or EVs, but he said that wasn't because they were hybrids or EVs. He said it was because they were like Hondas or Toyotas, and Hondas or Toyotas have the best reliability, and they just happen to make hybrid. All right, so the first of these tables looked at reliability ratings for vehicles that were 5 to 10 years old. And they were stack ranked thusly: number 1, Lexus; number 2, Toyota; number 3, Mazda; number 4, Honda; number 5, Acura. Let's pause a moment, because, sir or lady, I put it to you that I think you need to think very carefully when shopping with your own money for a car that just needs to do the job and not break down, and then you can flip it on without losing too much money. And when it does need stuff, it's easy to find a mechanic, and he doesn't charge an arm and a leg, and the parts don't cost an arm and a leg, and you don't need to take the whole car apart in order to fix it. Audi, not thinking about you. So that's the 2 Toyota brands, with the premium one doing better. Mazda, an interloper, who would have thunk it, and then Honda and Acura, rounding out the top 5 there. And this is vehicles 5 to 10 years old. So this, guys, if you've got 10, 15, 20 grand that you're spending, that is your stat ranking of reliability. So actually, that's meaningful, isn't it? Maybe this isn't so boring after all. Let's look at numbers 6 to 10. BMW, Buick, Nissan, Audi, Volvo. Number 11, Mercedes, Subaru, Volkswagen, Lincoln, Mini, and number 16, Cadillac. And now, running up towards the bottom, number 26, we had Cadillac at number 16, Hyundai at number 17, Chevrolet at number 18, Ford 19, Dodge 20, Kia 21, GMC 22, Chrysler 23, Ram 24, Jeep 25, and bringing up the rear for reliability, the Muskmobile itself, the Tesla. At the risk of stating the obvious, the longer a model is around, the more its reliability improves. So if you're buying a year 1 or year 2 of that model, and that model has some radical new technology on it, or is just a straight ahead new model, it's not that you have to expect teething problems, but you have to recognize that these are very, very complex products. So I spoke about my wife buying a new car. She did. It was new, but it had sat around long enough that it had missed a software update. So when she was due to pick it up, it got its software knickers in a twist and needed like a trickle charge, or like it needed some quiet time overnight. This is what the salesman said. Just imagine how this played. You can drive it away, but the screen's going to be black. That's right. Just that it functions as a car without all of the infotainment screenness, that I thought was interesting. You know, because it's like if you've been away on vacation and you've left your PC off at home, and maybe you've missed a couple of, Microsoft Tuesday software patches or something like that. The machine can sometimes, if you've an older machine, it can sometimes get its knickers in a twist and need to reboot it a couple of times, can't it? So my sense was it had that kind of experience. So I should just interject that the car that she bought is a 2026 Cadillac Optiq. I should say she's in the deals. Vulgarly talk about numbers. Strikingly good deal. It made me wonder why I mess around with bangers when you can have the latest technology. Pretty good price, albeit you don't have anything to show for it after 2 years. But, she can charge you for free at work. So the use case is obvious, right? You either pay for gas or you don't. So looking at new cars, the 2026 brand report card rankings, who makes the best cars basically, are as follows. Number 1, Subaru. Number 2, BMW. Number 3, Porsche. Number 4, Honda. Number 5, Toyota. Number 6, Lexus. Number 7, Lincoln. Number 8, Hyundai. Number 9, Acura. Number 10, Tesla. Number 11, Mini. Number 12, Kia. Number 13, Nissan. Number 14, Mazda. Number 15, Genesis. Number 16, Audi. Number 17, Cadillac. 18, Ford. Mitsubishi, Buick, Volvo, Volkswagen, Mercedes-Benz, Chevrolet, Chrysler, Rivian, Alfa Romeo, Dodge, GMC, Land Rover, and at 31, with the lowest overall score, Jeep. They talked a bit about how their online presence was, regularly updated with new topics. They talked about this concept of the safety verdict, which is a way to combine lots of information together into an easily good, better, best kind of safety ranking thing. I mean, those two lists I read out, the contrast between reliability at 5 years and who makes the best cars based upon Consumer Reports' own scoring. There's quite an interesting contrast there, isn't there? Looking at reliability and owner satisfaction, they use the owner survey to derive those kind of figures. I did write down how many surveys they did, how large the sample size is. 380,000 surveys were completed last year. And there's more that get done every year. Well, that's time to do these surveys. It's a little bit like the only person who's got time to do the surveys is some complaining asswipe or somebody who's, some anally retentive person who's going to have completely unrealistic expectations. So I'm taking it with a grain of salt. Alfa Romeo got a shout out there towards the bottom of a table for new car competence or customer satisfaction or anything like that. It's one of the greatest regrets, I think. Greatest regrets, that sounds like, I'm like, I wish I'd been there to father my child. But no, right, it's not a great regret like that. But I wish I'd listened less to What Car years ago, because What Car would score stuff, and the Ford would always do better than the Alfa Romeo, and the BMW and the Mercedes would always do better than the Alfa Romeo, even though your heart said the Alfa Romeo, your head always said the BMW, and your wallet always said the Ford, and that was why you always ended up with the blue oval. And this hubnut, and you people who like Austin Rovers, this is what you don't understand, is that was the rubric through the second half of the 20th century, was that if you were fixing it yourself, you wanted to be able to go to the Ford dealership or the scrapyard and get a part easily. And you know what? They were actually good to drive. Fords always were better to drive, definitely than Rovers or Austins or Morrises and than Vauxhalls. That's why Hubnut and the Doubting Thomases, there is such a following for fast Fords, because I tell you, you bought the Ford, you wish you'd had the money for the BMW. Looking back, I wish I'd had the balls to do old Alfa Romeos. And this is my objection it is not about point scoring with these things. It's about what gives you satisfaction. In fact, to that end, I'm going to jump forward to a really interesting thing that pulled out of this was that you notice that Rivian ranked pretty low there for overall, like, how good is the car according to Consumer Reports measures. But they had one report that showed that it's like bottom for actual reliability, but top for customer satisfaction. In other words, there's this sort of contrast between how it actually performs and how people feel about it immediately after they've acquired it and owned it and are able to show it off to their neighbors. They have, NHTSA style verbatim quotes to allow people to have like a proper drill down. So I thought this was quite interesting. When I was writing for vehicle history, you would always look, there'd always be a question. The title that you were writing under was something like, Kia engines reliability, or, Kia Optima, good, bad, or indifferent kind of thing. That was the title that you were writing under. In order to get good information, you would have to go into the National Highways Agency website. And in there, there's lots of different complaints. So you can actually look at what people have found has been an issue with certain cars. And I used to do that in order to be able to lift verbatim quotes from, actual reports that people have submitted about problems they'd had with their car. I would lift these quotes straight into the articles that I was writing for vehicle history. Well, the Consumer Reports guys give you the same scope to do that. You can drill into individual reports to see what people have said. So, bravo for the granularity. In terms of some interesting insights, hybrids have 15% fewer issues than ICE cars. Plug-ins have 80% more issues than hybrids. I've actually gone as far to write down that plug-ins are a bad technology with almost double the issues. Maybe. I still think it's going to work for my wife's application, which is sitting on the highway for ages and gassing up for free at the office. Why would you? If you've got a commute where you can gas up for free at the office, the BMW 330e hybrid she looked at, that bastard thing was barely going to get 40 miles to the gallon. It was going to be all out of electricity before she was even to work, let alone by the time she's got home. This thing, if she does it right, she need never pay to fill it up. We don't even need to pay to fill it up with electricity at home because she can just charge it for free at the office. There may be issues with it. We'll see how it takes these over-the-airwaves upgrades. It's a Cadillac Optiq, by the way, which is like the same as the Lyric underneath. Yeah, I'm a bit worried about the General Motors reliability, if I'm completely honest. But, it's nice inside. White leather. Nice inside. I guess the last year's one had 350 foot-pounds of torque. This one's got 500 foot-pounds of torque. It's like, on ramps, it's like a fucking tsunami. I've not driven it yet, but my wife's got a pretty heavy right foot and she's kind of gotten used to it. Hybrids have 15% fewer issues than ICE vehicles. This might well be because Toyota do hybrids, whereas Chrysler do ICE vehicles. So it's not that ICE vehicles are less reliable than hybrids per se. It's just look at who's building them, right? All those Chargers and Challengers and Ram Classics, not so much. All those Camrys and Priuses, they're just reliably beagling on down the road, aren't they? Gosh, Toyota, we love to hate you, but we own the pickup truck and it's done 220,000 miles and it's not gone wrong yet. I was gripping the wooden table there, but Toyota's going to Toyota. So for new car reliability, the stat ranking is 1, Toyota, 2, Subi, 3, Lexus, 4, Honda, 5, BMW, 6, Nissan, 7 Acura, 8 Buick, 9 Tesla, 10 Kia, 11 Ford, 12 Hyundai, and 13 Audi. So that's new car reliability. Honda apparently were dragged down by just one model, And that model is the Prologue, which was a platform that they developed jointly with General Motors. What we're saying there is that if you're buying a different kind of Honda, it's probably as good as, the other stuff. You just need to be aware of where platforms are being shared. I wonder if this Cadillac platform will trickle down to other vehicles. That one platform, Lyric platform, the Optiq's the little one, and then there's like a 3-row Tahoe motherfucker called the Vastic or Giant Shit or something, I don't know. Rivian last for reliability. That was powertrain and build issues, but despite that, number one for owner satisfaction. So despite issues with the BEV X3, like the electric EV, BMW is pretty reliable. Tesla's steadily improving and so much better than they were 5 years ago. Mazda has been dragged down by a single model. Again, it was the CX-90, and that was so revolutionary when it was launched that has compromised reliability. Isn't it rear-wheel drive or something? I think it's rear-wheel drive. It's a really interesting thing. Mazda are doing interesting things. Look at Mazda if you're shopping for new. My wife's never going to buy a Mazda, but I would look at Mazda. If I had to buy a 3-row SUV, I think I'd have a Mazda before a Porsche now. What's a Porsche is like a gussied up Audi nowadays, isn't it? They've developed an AI tool that's Ask Consumer Reports, where it's, an AI tool that's been trained on their data set. I wondered really if that was an AI tool or if that was just a search engine. Interesting. I mean, there doesn't seem enough data to be training an AI, really, but I mean, whatever, right? Everyone has to say AI now, don't they? And even if it's just a crappy chatbot. We try and buy mainstream models that are most representative of what most consumers are going to buy. The vehicles are titled under Consumer Reports, but we go into dealerships with our families as independent people and try not to tell the dealers until the very last minute that this vehicle's being sold to Consumer Reports. This must be quite fun doing that, don't you think? With all the ADAS stuff, they've developed a whole suite of real-world testing and track testing, which they feel like delivers maximum veracity for the effectiveness of, the ADAS system. And I should say, this is definitely a big part of car buying now. My wife has come from a 04 BMW 325 automatic, no screen. For her, the whole notion of she didn't know what the acronym stood for, and then she was schooling me on the way the different systems work and on what she wanted to use and on what she liked and on what she didn't like. So by the time she was actually going to dealerships, she could compellingly say, the BMW didn't excite me, the Mercedes, the EQE was too old man, the CLA, I'd have felt like a teeny bopper. I don't know, this Caddy. I mean, it was a better price so the knockout feature for her is Super Cruise, right? That you can just, above 60 miles an hour, it'll drive itself. And more than that, if you give it navigation, if it can stay above 60 miles an hour, not only will it change lanes if a slower car pulls out in front or something like that, it will even get off one road onto another one, like change lanes and all of that, if it can maintain the speed all itself without you touching the wheel. As long as you're looking, it'll do it. This probably doesn't sound, if you're listening to this in 2026 now, if you're listening to this in like 2028 or 2030 or 2033, this is going to seem so old-fashioned. But this is partly why I'm doing this, because, for her, she never used cruise control before. The concept that the car can do it all, completely drive itself, that was exactly what she wanted to step into. Now, the Krauts have a system where the car really will drive itself below 40 miles an hour. So in stop-start annoying traffic, it drives. And then when the traffic clears and you can get the hammer down, it lets you take over again, which, of course, is exactly the way that you would expect the Germans and especially BMW to do it, because that's the way that I would have the system. When I'm going fast, I want to drive. When I'm going slow and it's annoying, it can fucking drive. That's exactly and indeed the Gemini AI that my wife is using to help her choose what to get. The AI very much did say, the BMW is the driver's choice, but it was glum inside and a shit ton of money, and she just wasn't excited by it. And the salesperson didn't appear to take her seriously. And I can't believe they missed a trick, really. They lost a customer there because they didn't really put forward their best product. Reliability by powertrain, the EV problem types, build quality things like body hardware, accessories, paint, trim, noise and leaks. And that would be, Rivian's had door and tailgate problems. The Cybertruck was noticeably bad for all of those kind of fit and finish kind of things. Who knew? A Tesla bad for fit and finish? Wow, who knew? I kind of really want one of those early Cybertruck. The more ugly duckling, weird white elephant they get. When you see one where there's corrosion on the stainless, that's when I'm going to want to buy one. The climate system played up on the Lyric and on the Blazer and on the Prologue. They're the same car. And on the ID4 and on the Rivian. Let me just see what other screen caps I got here that were interesting. EV battery issues requiring battery replacements. Lyric, Blazer, Prologue, EV9, Genesis, GV60, ID4. EV charging issues. The onboard inverter taking a shit. I think that's the technical term. Ioniq 5, Ioniq 6, EV6, EV9, Genesis GV60, Rivian. Anybody doing a BEV is doing a shitty job around reliability, but then you'd sort of expect that for a first-generation product, wouldn't you? So this is why hybrids have the best reliability, right? Because Honda have been building them, and, they've been doing it forever, and they've raced Le Mans forever, and the shit works really well now. Pure stat ranking for safety will give you Mazda, Genesis, Acura, Lincoln, Hyundai, Honda, Nissan, Audi, Subaru, Kia, Buick, Volvo, Volkswagen, Toyota, Lexus, Mercedes, BMW, Cadillac, Chevrolet, Ford, GMC, Chrysler, Mini, Porsche, Rivian, Tesla, Mitsubishi, Jeep, and Land Rover. That was safety. Land Rover are shit, aren't they? They really are. Can I say that as I'm British? Should I not say it since they're now an Indian company? It's sad that British cars are as... Land Rover once associated with, the benchmark for reliability, how the mighty have fallen or whatever. All right, to wrap up, this is their top 10 picks. Best small car, Civic. Best mid-sized, Camry. Best subcompact SUV, Subi Crosstrek. Best compact SUV, Subi Forester. Best mid-sized SUV, Toyota Grand Highlander. I think that's the 3-row one. One of my wife's friends just bought one. Best compact luxury SUV, the Lexus NX. Best luxury mid-sized SUV, BMW X5. Best small pickup, Ford Maverick. Best full-size pickup, F-150. Best EV, Tesla Model Y. So the screen thing, everything through the screen, plus the Nazi politics, I think that put my wife off Teslas, if I'm completely honest. I would have had a hard time looking at one on the drive, if I'm completely honest about it. And I'll hold up my hand and say, when she was looking at the Germans, she just said to me, do you think I should look at anything else? And I was like, I have heard good things about the Lyric. It was Hoovy and that ridiculous new wife of his who is absurd, but somehow I just love her anyway, and I love them together. So Hoovy, thank you for your advice on the Lyric. On that note, thank you, Drive Through.
This episode has been brought to you by Grand Touring Motorsports as part of our Motoring Podcast Network. For more episodes like this, tune in each week for more exciting and educational content from organizations like the Exotic Car Marketplace, the Motoring Historian, Break Fix, and many others. If you'd like to support Grand Touring Motorsports and the Motoring Podcast Network, sign up for one of our many sponsorship tiers at www.patreon.com/GT Motorsports. Please note that the content, opinions, and materials presented and expressed in this episode are those of its creator, and this episode has been published with their consent. If you have any inquiries about this program, please contact the creators of this episode via email or social media as mentioned in the episode.